We're going to look at how physical activity contributes to morbidity and the development of chronic disease. According to a World Health Organization report in 2009, the leading risk factors for all deaths globally were high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, tobacco smoking, and physical inactivity. And obesity came fifth. So physical activity ranked, according to that World Health Organization report, ahead of obesity. The more recent global burden of disease in 2010 places physical inactivity around sixth amongst risk factors, but it's still a major issue in non-communicable diseases globally. And by physical activity, I mean we aren't moving enough for our health in our recreation time, in travel to and from work, at work, in sport, in structured exercise, or even in everyday life, using the stairs and walking to and from places. We're making inactive choices, reducing our overall physical activity levels. In the majority of developed populations, more than half of adults are not meeting the minimum guidelines of around half an hour of physical activity on most days of the week. Physical inactivity is a major risk factor for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, independent of obesity. It's also a risk factor for some cancers, particularly the common cancers, colorectal and breast cancer. So physical inactivity contributes to many NCDs. It doesn't contribute to chronic lung disease, but does contribute to heart disease and diabetes prevention in particular. If we increase our physical activity levels to the minimum of half an hour a day, our rates of those diseases will go down by 10 to 15% at the population level. Physical activity can be accumulated in different ways throughout a person's life. Some people are active at work. They might be digging up roads or doing heavy labor, so they're getting their physical activity at work. Some people play sport regularly or go to the gym and get their exercise in a structured way. Some people walk or cycle to or from places or to or from work. We'll call that active commuting or active travel, and that's how they get their physical activity. And some people don't do any of these things, but need to make small trips to and from the shops, to and from their friends' houses, using the stairs instead of the elevator, and accumulate what we call lifestyle or incidental physical activity. Now, it's ideal if you can accumulate activity in several settings, but there's a range of options for everyone which are time equivalent. It takes the same time to use the stairs as it does to use the lift or the elevator. It may take the same time to walk somewhere if you park a little bit further away than to drive round and round looking for a parking space. So we can accumulate physical activity through exercise or sport that are structured forms, or through other ways of doing it in our lifestyle and at almost every age for almost every human being. There are problems for the frail elderly, for people aged 80 and above. They just need to move more, even in their chairs. There are problems for people who have chronic disease, like diabetes or severe arthritis, or who have disabilities or special needs, and we need special physical activity programs for them. But for 90% of all humans on the planet, just walking more and moving more should become part of everyday life. There's a new interest in the continuum of physical activity, as there may be additional risks in prolonged sitting. People spend a lot of time sitting at work, hour after hour, without moving, sitting in a production line at factories, or sitting in call centers or at a desk, in sedentary occupations. And we know that prolonged sitting does have additional health risks for diabetes and cardiovascular disease, particularly if you're not doing regular physical activity in the rest of your day. So if you're not meeting the 30 minutes a day guideline for physical activity, it's even more important that you interrupt your prolonged sitting throughout the day and don't spend too many hours sitting. The patterns of physical activity differ for developed countries, where we often get our physical activity through exercise, sport, gyms, and structured programs. In lower and middle income countries, economic development is creating a transition where people who used to get most of their physical activity by moving to and from work on bicycles or walking are now moving in motorcycles and in cars, and physical activity is being eliminated and not being replaced by structured exercise programs, by recreational activity, or by physical activity at work. With increases in sedentary activities, people are spending more and more time at work being sedentary, sitting down, and we've removed active travel from middle-income countries, increased sedentary time, and that's a serious risk for non-communicable disease in those countries. We need to maintain parks, recreation space, walking space, sidewalks to walk on, build public transport systems, and give people access to places where they can participate in exercise, sport, or recreation to maintain their physical activity levels.